when you're actually accessing these resources and trying to learn, most people don't really learn if they just read or just sit there and listen to someone. It's better if you actually do something active while you're reading, just like it's important to do pre-reading strategies. Strategies that you do while you read are equally important. One of the first things that I do when I start the year is teach you a little bit about how to read well. And there's a worksheet on my website called Steps to Reading that talks about general reading strategies that I'm trying to talk about throughout the year. And we'll add to that as we go along as well. Some of the strategies that I like the best are shown here. I like, for example, to define key terms, using the things like lecture guide, key terms list, textbook, things like that. Because the key terms are it's basically what they are, key terms. Those are the most important things about the topic. So one of the easiest ways to make sure that you make the most out of your reading is that every time you see one of those key terms, which are important, that you write them down. All right. So if you're reading, or if you're watching the podcast, or if you're watching a presentation, if you're going to the website, no matter how you collect the information, and remember, try to use more than one source to double check the information, it's good to write down definitions for the key terms that you found. Another cool technique that I like to read better, it's called highlighting. And highlighting is basically like taking notes. But basically, when you're reading something or when you're watching the podcast, anything that was really important that you heard or you read, you said like, oh my God, this is the center point of what he's trying to say. I need to know this one. So what you do is you would highlight that. But sometimes you can't highlight because you're in a textbook or it's a video that you are watching. So you basically write it down and you have a collection of statements, which are the most important statements about what you're having to learn. Highlighting is another great way of doing this. So you may want to try that if this maybe help you learn the topic better. Another thing I like to use is something called chapter summary. When I finally finish that chapter or that topic or that section, I will stop and write down on a sheet of paper everything that you remember about that. Basically, write your own summary about the topic. That will help you identify everything you've learned and everything you didn't learn, because the things you didn't write down were the things you didn't learn. So chapter summaries at the conclusion of the topic. Great way to do it. Another great technique that I would suggest that you use is using things like reading charts, graphic organizers, or concept mapping. And I teach you how to do these throughout the year. But basically, these are ways to organize key terms conceptually in relationships represented through diagrams, where the key terms will make more sense because they're associated with each other. Research shows that when you create associations with words, it's easier to remember them. So just like in the pre-reading strategies, it's important to activate prior knowledge or to make connections with things which matter to you in your real life. While you're reading, it's also important to spend time making those connections between the words themselves. And that's a great way of doing that with concept maps. Another cool technique is that while you read, you use things like study guides, study lists, or guided reading or directed reading, section questions, chapter review questions, things like that. And a lot of textbooks have those questions at the end. My website also provides you with things like study guides and study lists and guided reading and things like that. Basically, what they are is a set of questions which go along with the topic. By answering those questions, you can make sure that you understood the topic. And so guided reading is a great way to make sure that you're ready to master that topic. So as you go along, you fill them out. So great way as well. And finally, outlines. And I have a separate handout that teaches you how to do outlines. And I also do that in class earlier in the year. So it's a strategy that you're going to have. But basically, as you read, you create an outline of the topic. And another one thing that goes along with that, you may have heard about it. It's called Cornell note-taking. So Cornell notes and outlines are both two ways that address that. So after you do these things, and you don't have to do all of these things, you can just do some of these things, or the things that you feel that are going to help you the most, or none of these things if you feel that you don't need them to actually know the material. But when I usually ask someone, what's going on? Why are you not understanding? Or when the person comes to me asking for help and they say, Mr. Lima, I'm stuck. I haven't passed this topic in forever. The first thing I ask the person is like, show me your daily tracking worksheet, or let's take a look at your Moodle site and let's see what you've been doing to learn this. What are the strategies you actually use? Where did you collect your information from? Where are your notes? Where are your reading strategies that you use? Did you do any of these things? And any of the things I'm still going to talk about. And when the answer is no, I say, oh, there you have it. That's why you're not succeeding. So try to use some of these things and try to switch them around so that you do better as you go along, okay?